Among the titans of brute strength, fearless warriors, and unshakable leaders, one figure in Attack on Titan stands apart not because of overwhelming power or unmatched combat skills, but because of his mind. Armin Arlert, a boy who once considered himself the weakest of all, would go on to become one of humanity's greatest strategic minds, a visionary, and the inheritor of one of the deadliest titans in existence. His journey is not one of sheer dominance, but of intellect, courage born from fear, and the strength to carry the weight of impossible decisions. Armin is not the soldier charging headfirst into danger with unbreakable muscles. He is not the intimidating commander who inspires loyalty through sheer charisma, and he is not the vengeful hero who seeks to destroy all enemies in his path. Instead, Armin's strength lies in his intelligence, empathy, and ability to analyze situations beyond the surface level. In a world dominated by fear, hatred, and survival instincts, he consistently asks questions others don't dare to ask. While most characters in Attack on Titan are defined by their physicality or ideological drive, Armin represents the voice of thought, reflection, and vision for the future from the earliest episodes. At his core, Armin is a study in paradox. He is fragile yet strong, afraid yet courageous, idealistic yet pragmatic when necessary. These contradictions are not flaws, they are the foundation of his genius. Armin embodies the truth that courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in spite of it. His psychology reveals how intelligence is not only about knowledge, but about emotional resilience, adaptability, and vision. He often doubts himself, yet in critical moments, it is his clarity of thought that saves everyone. This oscillation between insecurity and brilliance makes him one of the most realistically human characters in the story. Strategic genius. From the very beginning, Armin proves himself as a natural strategist. He recognizes the weaknesses of titans before others do. He formulates bold, high-risk plans that succeed against overwhelming odds. He understands not just battlefield tactics, but also psychological warfare. Unlike Erwin, whose leadership style was about rallying soldiers through sacrifice, Armin's brilliance lies in anticipating the enemy's moves and devising creative, sometimes unorthodox solutions. His brain becomes the shield and sword of humanity. One of the best examples is the Battle of Shiganshina, where Armin sacrifices himself in a calculated act of self-destruction to outwit the colossal titan. This was not blind bravery, it was the execution of a perfect strategic maneuver at the cost of his own life. That moment crystallizes why Armin is invaluable. Not only can he devise brilliant plans, but he also has the courage to carry them out personally. Every great strategist, every visionary is not born from strength, but from struggle. Armin Arlert's genius did not appear overnight. It was forged in the quiet pain of being different, the constant feeling of inadequacy, and the burning desire to seek answers in a world where questions were forbidden. To truly understand Armin, we must begin where it all started, with a fragile boy growing up inside the walls. A childhood of fragility. From the very beginning, Armin stood apart from his peers in Shiganshina district. Unlike Eren, who was fiery and impulsive, or Mikasa, who was naturally gifted with strength and combat ability, Armin was frail, timid, and physically weak. He often fell behind in games, struggled in training, and lacked the brute force valued in a society where survival depended on military power. This weakness made him a frequent target of bullies who mocked him for his fragile body and soft demeanor. Yet, instead of hardening into anger or resentment, Armin developed a different type of resilience. He learned how to endure ridicule, how to think his way out of conflict, and how to embrace his mind as his only weapon. His weakness forced him to develop strengths in areas others overlooked. The spark of curiosity. Armin's grandfather introduced him to books, forbidden books that spoke of oceans, deserts, volcanoes, and lands beyond the walls. These books planted a seed of curiosity that would grow into one of his defining traits, the desire to know the truth of the world. For most people in the walls, survival was the only goal, but Armin was different. He wasn't satisfied with merely existing. He wanted to understand. He wanted to see. This yearning for knowledge became the foundation of his intelligence and strategic thinking, because Armin was always questioning, why are we trapped here? What lies beyond? What truths are being hidden from us? Where others accepted the world as it was, Armin sought to uncover what it could be. Insecurity and the birth of self-doubt. However, this curiosity also isolated him. In a militaristic society where strength was the highest currency, Armin's hunger for knowledge branded him as weak and strange. His peers didn't admire his intelligence, they ridiculed it. This rejection fostered deep self-doubt within him. Armin often questioned his own worth, believing himself to be a burden to his friends. Time and again he called himself useless, especially when compared to Eren's determination and Mikasa's overwhelming strength. But here lies the paradox that defines Armin's psychology. His awareness of weakness was also his greatest strength. Because he doubted himself, he pushed himself to think harder, plan better, and find solutions that stronger people might overlook. His mind sharpened not in comfort, but in the fires of insecurity. The bond with Eren and Mikasa. Despite his self-doubt, Armin was never alone. His closest bonds with Eren Yeager and Mikasa Ackerman shaped his character profoundly. Eren was Armin's opposite, in many ways reckless, stubborn, and filled with rage against the world. Yet Eren admired Armin's dreams of the outside world. In fact, it was Armin who first introduced Eren to the idea of freedom beyond the walls. This dream became the very foundation of Eren's own ideology. In many ways, Armin is the spark that lit Eren's fire. Mikasa, on the other hand, was the protective force in their trio. She often defended Armin when bullies targeted him, which deepened his sense of guilt. He hated being a burden, but her loyalty also reassured him that he was not worthless. Together, the three of them formed a perfect balance. Eren's will, Mikasa's strength, and Armin's mind. Without Armin, Eren's dream might have remained a vague yearning. Without Armin, Mikasa's strength might have been directionless. His role in their trio shows that, even as a child, Armin's value was not in what he could do with his fists, but in the vision he carried within his heart. The first seeds of strategy. Even before he entered the military, Armin displayed signs of his strategic mind. When faced with conflict, he rarely fought back with force. Instead, he observed, analyzed, and found ways to avoid escalation. This early reliance on thinking over fighting foreshadowed his later role as a strategist. In a world where brute strength often failed against titans, Armin's approach of careful planning, risk calculation, and creative thinking became essential for humanity's survival. The psychological impact of weakness. Armin's childhood left him with two defining psychological imprints: deep sense of inferiority. He constantly measured himself against others and came up short. This created a fear of being left behind, of being useless, which haunted him even in adulthood, and in a drive to prove himself. His self-doubt didn't paralyze him. Instead, it became the engine of his determination. Each time he thought of himself as weak, he pushed his mind further, trying to find meaning in his existence. These two forces, insecurity and determination, shaped Armin into the person he would become. A thinker whose strategies were born not from arrogance but from humility and the need to matter. Armin's early life was not defined by triumphs but by trials. His frail body, his insecurities, and his longing for knowledge all made him an outsider. Yet within this outsider's perspective was the key to his brilliance. Because he was weak, he learned to think. Because he was insecure, he learned to cue. In a story filled with warriors, soldiers, and killers, Armin Arlert is one of the rare characters whose greatest battles are fought not only against titans or enemies, but within himself. His psychology is a battlefield of fear, doubt, intellect, and empathy. To understand Armin is to explore the mind of a boy who believed he was weak, yet became the very brain of humanity's survival. In war, strength may win battles, but intelligence wins wars. Throughout Attack on Titan, Armin Arlert proves that the sharpest weapon humanity possesses is not a blade, but a mind. Time and again, his strategies turn the tide of seemingly impossible battles. To study Armin's genius is to watch intellect reshape destiny. Early proof of genius, the female Titan plan. One of Armin's first major displays of brilliance comes during the female Titan arc. When the mysterious Titan began targeting the Survey Corps, most soldiers panicked, treating her as just another mindless monster. Armin, however, saw patterns. Her selective killing, her focus on specific targets, her agility. Instead of dismissing these as coincidences, he concluded that the female Titan must be an intelligent human in Titan form. But his genius didn't stop at deduction, it was in action. He devised a strategy to trap the female Titan using the Survey Corps' formation. He analyzed Annie's combat style and used her overconfidence against her. Even after the plan failed due to unforeseen factors, his deductions laid the groundwork for her eventual capture. This episode proves Armin's ability to not only recognize hidden truths, but also to apply knowledge strategically under pressure. Long-term thinking and vision. Unlike many characters who focus only on immediate survival, Armin always thinks long-term. His dream of the ocean was not escapism, it was a symbol of the bigger picture, a reminder that survival means nothing without a future worth living for. His strategies often accounted not only for the battle at hand, but for what came after: sustainability, alliances, and the preservation of lives. This visionary thinking separates him from characters like Levi or Eren, who often acted on impulse or vengeance. Armin's long-term vision demonstrates that true strategy is not just about winning battles, but about shaping the future. Armin Arlert may not have had the raw strength of Levi or the commanding presence of Erwin, but in the silence of strategy, his mind roared louder than any Titan. From the cunning trap of the female Titan to the self-sacrificial brilliance at Shiganshina and the terrifying precision of the Marley invasion, Armin proved that one idea executed at the right time could change the fate of nations. He was not just a soldier in humanity's fight, he was the mind that allowed humanity to keep fighting at all. When Armin Arlert inherited the colossal Titan, he did not just gain the strength of one of the most terrifying weapons in existence, he also inherited a burden that would weigh on his soul forever. To wield the colossal Titan is to carry both unimaginable power and unimaginable guilt, and for Armin, this inheritance became the greatest test of his psychology, his morality, and his identity. Armin's confrontation with despair. There are moments in the rumbling arc where Armin nearly gives in to despair. He He admits his fear of failure, questions whether they can truly stop Eren, and laments the endless cost of survival. But what makes Armin extraordinary is his ability to rise from despair. He turns moments of self-doubt into fuel for action. He reframes failure not as weakness but as part of the struggle. He chooses to keep moving forward even when hope seems gone. From the very beginning, Armin was the thinker among his friends. Eren represented the will-raw determination, the unstoppable drive to move forward. Mikasa represented the heart love, loyalty, and emotional strength. Armin represented the mind intellect, creativity, and the ability to see beyond the present. This balance is what made their friendship so powerful. Each brought something the others lacked. Without Eren's will, they might never have fought for freedom. Without Mikasa's heart, they might never have had the strength to endure loss. Without Armin's mind, they would never have found strategies to survive. Together, they formed a trinity, not perfect individually, but whole as a unit. The symbolism of the dreamer. Armin's fascination with the outside world symbolizes more than childish curiosity. His dream of oceans, deserts, and mountains represents humanity's thirst for knowledge. His yearning reflects the theme that survival alone is not enough. People need purpose, beauty, and discovery. In a world defined by walls and war, Armin's dream becomes the light of possibility. Symbolically, Armin carries the torch of imagination in a story otherwise dominated by violence. He reminds us that humanity is not defined by its struggles, but by its capacity to dream of something greater. Conclusion. Why Armin is invaluable. In the grand saga of Attack on Titan, every character carries a piece of humanity's struggle. Some embody raw strength, others unwavering loyalty, and others the will to march forward no matter the cost. But Armin Arlert carries something far rarer, the mind that dares to dream. His journey from insecure boy to reluctant savior reveals why his intelligence, empathy, and resilience make him not only invaluable, but irreplaceable. The psychological core of Armin. At his heart, Armin is defined by doubt and transformation. His self-doubt, once his greatest weakness, became the fuel for growth. His empathy, often mistaken for fragility, became his greatest strength. His resilience, forged through loss and guilt, became his shield against despair. Armin's psychology shows us that true strength is not the absence of fear, but the ability to keep moving forward despite it. He proves that vulnerability does not diminish greatness, it creates it. Strategic genius in action. Armin's intelligence is not just academic, it is practical genius, sharpened by survival. He devised the plan that defeated the female Titan. He engineered the trap that brought down Bertolt. He sacrificed himself at Shiganshina, proving that intellect alone is not enough without courage. He orchestrated strategies in the Rumbling Arc, balancing military precision with empathy for human life. Unlike Erwin, who embodied sacrifice and will, Armin's strategies were rooted in preservation and possibility. His genius lay not just in defeating enemies, but in envisioning what came after, the burden of power. By inheriting the colossal Titan, Armin became the unwilling wielder of one of the most destructive forces in existence. This power tested his morality, forcing him to reconcile necessity with compassion. It deepened his survivor's guilt as he lived on in Erwin's place, yet it also revealed his strength. Though he carried destruction, he never let it define him. Symbolically, Armin proved that the most dangerous weapons belong in the hands of those who fear them most. Armin as humanity's moral compass. In the darkest hours, from the Marley invasion to the rumbling, Armin consistently reminded his comrades that survival alone is not enough. He argued for peace when vengeance seemed easier. He humanized enemies when hatred threatened to consume them. He kept the alliance together when mistrust could have torn it apart. The legacy of Armin Arlert. In the final balance of Attack on Titan, Armin's legacy is profound. He is the proof that weakness can become strength. He is the reminder that intellect can save as surely as brute force. He is the dreamer who refused to abandon beauty in a world of blood. He is the strategist who saved humanity not just by defeating enemies, but by preserving its soul. Where others broke under the weight of war, Armin endured. Where others gave in to hatred, he held on to compassion. Where others dreamed of freedom through destruction, he dreamed of oceans, mountains, and skies. Armin Arlert is invaluable not because he was the strongest soldier, nor because he held the most terrifying Titan. He is invaluable because he carried the dream of humanity when no one else could. In a story defined by walls, monsters, and endless war, Armin dared to believe in oceans. And that belief, fragile yet unyielding, is what saved humanity. He is the strategist, the dreamer, the bridge. And above all, the reminder that even in despair, the mind can still imagine hope.